And finally, when we consider student discourse, we're looking at how students are speaking in your class and how you're getting them to speak in your class. So, first of all, how are they speaking? Are you providing sentence starters? Are you doing consistent modeling and practice? And have you provided time to think about a response before answering? So, if you think back to the talk moves we just discussed, a lot of those can be made into some of these sentence starters or can be used to model and practice. And even like the turn and talk can provide think time for students before answering. So when you think about student discourse, how are they speaking is the first question. And you really want to provide these scaffolds or these practice opportunities for students because that way, moving forward, it becomes automatic. Some of these discourse and talk move ideas can also be used to model and practice writing skills you want students to use. So if there is a formula for writing a response that your school might use or you might use in your own classroom, you can be building those ideas into your student discourse and questioning so that that is a part of how your students are speaking and how they're writing, and just encourages that idea across the board. Also thinking about the variety of questioning techniques that you're employing. So we talked about the talk moves themselves, but there are some ways that you can ask questions or get students more involved in the question process. So the think, pair, share, that can kind of be like a turn and talk and then the share out at the end, but you can also use an ink pair share. So that could be just a free write at first for like 90 seconds or so, get some ideas out on paper, then pair up with someone and then share it out. This can be useful also if you want to collect or at least track student writing and not just have them thinking in their head, but have them annotating something or making some notes you're going to look at. Cold calling, you can use the wheel of destiny or popsicle sticks. There's a lot of ways to make cold calling a little less cold seeming, but I think that can still be an important technique. It's about knowing your students and knowing who you don't want to put on the spot in a negative way, but you also need to hear every voice. So even if your cold calling might involve giving a student a heads up first, like when they're doing independent work on the do now, I might walk around and tell a student, this is a really great answer. You know what? I'm going to call on you first when we go back to share out with the group. And that way the student knows that I'm going to call on them, but then it also can still be a cold call for the rest of the class. So you might want to be kind of aware of what students might need that extra little bit of support in the cold call. But again, it can be really helpful to hear every voice. And that really is the key. Don't let a student opt out of sharing in class because the speaking portion is A, still a standard, and also B, still an important part of school and of life. Volunteering is always a go-to. I mean, that's an easy way to get students who want to talk. And the hot seat is something that you can do. So like a student might be an expert on a topic, you give them a hot seat and they become the person who's going to answer all the questions about this topic. I've also seen the hot seat done where underneath each seat, there's a topic card and the student pulls that out and now they're in charge of knowing about that topic. The fist of five is a good sort of temperature gauge in the room. And four corners or human bar graph, these are great ways to get students up and moving around. So you might have a question posed to the group where students can agree, disagree, or strongly disagree, and you move to the four corners. Or maybe your four corners are, different numbers that might be an answer to a problem or that kind of thing. And the human bar graph is you can kind of, again, give like a temperature for an answer by students lining up where they think the answer might be. So it could be a sliding scale of like an emotional response. It could be just a number scale. It could be a timeline, have students stand where they think an event happened. So there's a lot of ways to get students up and moving and really engaging in this discourse.